Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel called zuzanareacts, where I learn all things Bharat with you, helping I just share my Slovak Central European point of view. In today's video, I'm very excited because we're gonna cover spirituality, my favorite topic, and we're going to look into Ramdas Maharaji because we are having a guy who's a Harvard professor who's very analytical and scientific, turned basically Hindu. And also Maharaji is someone who famous celebrities have been seeking out. So I'm just wanting to for us to look at the story and how things came about. I haven't previewed the video which we are about to see about Ramdas, but I'm super excited to see the journey. But before we jump into today's video,
please like this video and click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification. Thank you so much for your support.
Okay, let's do this.
In going to India, I was looking for somebody that could read the maps of my consciousness. I found Maharaji. He was the map. I met Maharaji in a little temple in the mountains, the Himalayas. I had been traveling with a young Westerner who had been in India for many months. And so he knew his way around.
So I took him in the Land Rover up the mountains to meet Neem Karoli Baba. Against his will. He was really uptight, angry, didn't want to go. Was giving me a hard time, was mad because I was driving. He wanted to drive.
We stopped on the way about 100 miles from the temple. And we stopped, and I went outside from the house, and the stars, like stars, Van Gogh, those stars. And I thought of my mother. She was dead 6 months. And then I went inside, and we went on to the Guru.
Ramdas first met Maharaji right here. Maharaji was sitting here with all these devotees were here, and he came here with Bhagwan Das. So it is a tradition here just to bow down before a saint. So Bhagwan Das bowed down in pranam, but Ramdas was a bit hesitating.
He's laying on his belly on the ground, touching the feet of the Guru. And I was Harvard professor. I wasn't going to go up and touch somebody's feet.
He had his hands in his pockets and just watching. And
so he said, come, this, sit down. Then he said, you were out under the stars thinking of your mother last night.
Wow.
Which, I mean, a Harvard professor, knowing, having been in cognitive research and stuff like that, nothing made me ready for that.
You were remembering your mother. She died of a spleen.
And that was the breakthrough.
Wow.
That was the quieting my mind.
Wow.
Quieting my mind.
It's like Jesus when he met the woman at the well and told her everything she'd ever done. That's what Maharaji would do. He would tell us everything that we've been doing in the last parts of our lives.
Wow.
He knows everything.
When Maharaji was near me, I was bathed in love. And because he knew everything about me, that was like I was forgiven.
Wow.
I think prior to that, I had a lot of things in my past. I didn't want anybody to know. No. And I always felt that if they knew, they wouldn't love me. He knew, and he loved me.
And then he was transformed into Baba Ramdas before my very eyes. He just turned into this love, just started pouring. He just totally opened his heart and got into his heart.
It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful.
How do I explain who Maharaji was and how he did what he did? I don't have any explanation. Maybe it was his love of God. I can't explain who he was. I can almost begin to understand how he loved everybody. I mean, that was sort of his job. He was a saint. Saints are supposed to love everybody. That's not what has always so staggered me. What staggered me is not that he loved everybody, but that when I was sitting in front of him, I loved everybody.
Oh, wow.
That was the hardest thing for me to understand. How he could so totally transform the spirit of people who were with him and bring out not just the best in us, but something that wasn't even in us we didn't know. I don't think any of us were ever as good or as pure or as loving in our whole life as we were when we were sitting in front of him.
I see him just as a doorway towards God. A doorway. His consciousness was so playful with mine. It sucks you in. In India, they have an expression, God, Guru, and self are one and the same.
Interesting.
He's just like my inner self.
The most common word that he ever said was Ram, God's name, and the second most common was Jao, get out of here. And all the Westerners who would come to him attracted like a magnet. He would always say, go away, go away, go away, go away. No, I don't think he wanted anything ever from me or from any of us. We tried to give him things. You couldn't give him money. You couldn't do anything for him.
Wow.
There was nothing that he needed.
All he wanted was for people to be liberated, to be free. One day, Maharaji indicated that he'd like to try LSD.
Okay.
And I didn't know that was wise because he was old and I had strong pills. But then he knew everything, so I got pills I had in my bag, and he selected the pills, and one pill would have been a dose for a person like me. He took all the pills at once. Nothing happened. He didn't have any reaction. I watched. Nothing happened. And what he was saying to me in his manner as the mirror, he was saying, it's in you. It's in you. The way we get caught in our method is method drugs, method church, method, method. that he got me out of my caughtness in my method. So I honored psychedelics, but I say there's other methods. Maharaji gave me the name Ram Dass. Somebody told me that, and I said, is it good? And they said, yeah, Ram is God and Das is servant of God. I waited till I was alone with Maharaji, and I said, how do I get in line with Maharaji? And he said, serve people and feed people. Here I come from America, and I was, here was the guru, serve people, feed people.
When Richard returned from India, he flew into Logan Field in Boston, and my father went to pick him up. Now, keep in mind, my father had been president of the New Haven Railroad, and he was accustomed to wearing a Homburg hat and a Chesterfield coat and very spiffy clothes and polished shoes. And he went up to the gate and sees Richard coming off the plane with a sheet on, barefooted, and a big long beard. And he said, oh my God. And he jumped back into his car. And Richard finally made his way to the car. I think my father was probably confused for 2 weeks trying to figure out what had happened.
In our family life, I've never had the situation where I said to any of my three boys, you've got to do this, or you've got to do that. Richard, what you fellow you call Baba or something or other. But he has a very definite mind of his own, and he makes his decisions on what he thinks is right and true. And I don't think he'll be influenced by anything that I say about his future any more than he's been influenced in the past. When he was a youngster, I had certain ideas as to what I thought I'd like to see him do. He didn't do them.
When Richard came back from India, and he would come to visit us in Franklin, New Hampshire, hundreds of hippies came to visit us. If we go out to dinner, as we drive in, I'd say, Richard, what are all these people walking up the road toward our place? Say, well, those are some of the people that want to see me. And by the time we'd get back, there'd be maybe 200, 300, 400 people all over the place. And I said, Richard, get them off the golf course.
Okay, so I believe this is the end of the video. It's in my head, it's like one of the stories of us Westerners going to India and having a complete life change, right? But I think it's more so when you have someone who is just so deeply analytical, and I think I've explored it in another video about like in the West, when you are a scientist, you don't necessarily believe in God, and that's almost like a premise, like you have to be atheist, and it's interesting to see a story of someone that, well, I guess he had a very good psychic abilities, the Maharaji, and I guess during the entire time I was thinking, like, if any of you guys know of anyone like that, because I presume that he's not with us anymore, just Maharaji. I would have loved to know if you have any recommendation. I would just love to meet a person like that in my life, and I think that that's kind of where I'm aiming at when going to India. So please do let me know in the comments if there is someone like him that you reckon could be good to visit. And it's interesting that all the kind of, the more I'm learning about Indian culture, the more I'm realizing where like a lot of spirituality comes from, where the people are learning things. There's definitely a good amount in the Western world with our like pagan cultures here, etc. But it's still, the more I know, the more I'm figuring out a lot of it really does come from, I guess, Hinduism, and from your region. So it's very definitely interesting and inspirational for me. And I think this will be it for today's video. If you did enjoy, please give thumbs up, share, like, and subscribe to this channel. And I'll see you next one. Until then, please do take care. I am sending much love. Bye bye.